What must be done, taking no time off. Daddy stays on the run. He's my dad and I love him. With him I have no fear. Because anytime I need him, I know Daddy's right here. Daddy's right here. Daddy seldom gets credit. We don't see all that he does. What's important to us is always showing Daddy love. His love's sometimes tough to learn why it took a while. Our relationship's special from the daddy and child. Facing his responsibilities, making it do what it do. Physically and emotionally available, yeah, Daddy's coming through. He's my dad and I love him. With him I have no fear. Because anytime I need him, I know Daddy's right here. Daddy's right here. Nothing easy about fatherhood, protecting us from all the no good. Most of the time he gets it right. He'll usually see the light. He'll take his problems.
Between Molly leaving and Mom's osteoporosis, I thought life was going to slow down.
It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, it's just my dad. My dad. My dad.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Moving through the street with swagger and ease. Often works to job to take care of our need. Taking it all in stride. Daddy seldom complains. His emotions so high. All his hates and pain stays up in his head about what must be done. Taking no time off. Daddy stays on the run. He's my dad and I love him. With him I have no fear. Because anytime I need him, I know Daddy's right here. Daddy's right here. Daddy seldom gets credit. We don't see all that he does. What's important to us is always showing Daddy love. His love's sometimes tough to learn why it took a while. Our relationship's special from the daddy and child. Facing his responsibilities, making it do what it do. Physically and emotionally available, yeah, Daddy's coming through. He's my dad and I love him. With him I have no fear. Because anytime I need him, I know Daddy's right here. Daddy's right here.
Welcome to another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. I'm your host, as
Nothing
always,
easy about fatherhood.
Again, another great show today.
Most of the time,
Parenting
right,
your partner.
you'll usually see
How many of you feel like you have to tell your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whoever, what to do with their life? How many of you do it? How many of you feel like you are raising your partner? Every time you turn around, you're telling me what they need to do with their life. You're telling them that they need to do this and that they must do that, and you feel compelled to always do it. Is it them or is it you? Is it a choice that you're making? Is the selection of the person you made? Who is it? What's the problem here? If I don't have what it is you're looking for, let me go. But who is making you stay in it? Why are you staying in such a relationship? We're going to talk about that some more today. On today's show, Daddy's Right Here Live. Welcome. Stay. Go get your coffee. Go get your pancakes, your kibbles. Bring them in front of your telephone, your TV, your laptop, or whatever, because we got a good show today and need to make sure that you stay tuned.
He wasn't no Rolling Stone. Daddy was bad to the bone. He never rolled with Henny. He tends to roll alone. With all he's been through, Daddy always stayed the course. Living life on its terms, God is his go-to source. He turned his life around, seeking refuge from the one above. Now we have the best of him, a daddy full of love. He's my dad and I love him. With him I have no fear, because anytime I need him, I know Daddy's right here.
Yeah.
Daddy's right here. Daddy's right here. Daddy's right here. He's my daddy. He's my daddy. He's my daddy. Daddy's right here.
Wayne, what's happening?
Daddy's
Jenna C,
right
what's going on?
here.
Connor, what's happening, dude?
He's my daddy. He's my daddy. He's my daddy.
Delaney,
Daddy's right here. Daddy's right here.
hey, what's going on? What's happening, y'all? Good morning. Good morning.
Daddy's right here.
Show. Glad you tuned in. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can be doing anything else on a Saturday morning than sitting here tuning into this show. And I thank you for tuning in. And again, welcome to another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. I'm your host, as always, Sabir Aleem. If you have never tuned in before, if this is your first time joining in, welcome. If it's your second, third, fourth, fifth time, welcome. This show is new to TikTok. This show has been on my Sabir Aleem educational station since 2007. So I'm no spring chicken. I'm not new to this. This show is only new to TikTok. And for all of those of you who have tuned in, thank you so much. Demayan, Hernandez, Ian Gear, Logan, Powell, what's going on? Xavier, Dawson. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the show this morning. Oftentimes I hear, and I hear it a lot from women, that they feel like they're having to raise their husband, their boyfriend. Like he acts like a little boy. I'm always having to tell him what to do, how to do it. I'm always having to help him make decisions that he should know to make as a man. That he should know to make as a man. All the while chastising, browbeating, and disrespecting their man. And it doesn't just happen with men. It happens with men towards women, girls. Why? Why do you feel like you have to tell me what it is that I need to do for myself? You tell me the type of job that I need to get. You tell me that I could do better for myself. You tell me what I need to wear, what I need to talk about when we go. What's going on, Brave? Luma? Why do you feel that way? The other person doesn't feel that way, but you feel that way. You feel like that you have to dictate what that person does, what they say, what they eat, how they eat. I remember dating someone who eventually became my wife, but during the date that we were out on, we had just had dinner, we had some steak and some other stuff, and I didn't have any toothpicks on the table. Didn't have access to any. They didn't have any at the restaurant we were at. So I had some meat, as you often do, stuck between my teeth. What's happening, Oak, Seco? So I picked up the steak knife and I, commenced to getting the meat out of my teeth. Hey, Deanna. So she says to me, I know you're not using that knife to clean your teeth. And I just turned around, looked at her like, yeah, I am, because I have meat in my teeth. And she shook her head. And I'm sorry, what's that all about? She said, like, because you're not supposed to do that. You don't do that when you're out. First thing that was the problem was the head, right? Second thing was, I'm not your child. If you dislike that, that's what you dislike. I'm going to get the meat out of my teeth with whatever I have nearby, right? Because that's what I want to do. What does it have to do with you? And she was upset that I said something back to her about what she had just said to me. And, we had some, debate about that afterwards in terms of her talking to me like I was her child. Like, I'm not your child. Right? And you can't talk to an adult like they're a child. You can't talk to anyone like they're a child unless they are, in fact, a child. So you have to ask yourself the question, why is it so important to you to tell somebody else what it is that they need to do or need not do? If you have somebody in your life, if you selected a partner in your life and you feel that way, you need to begin to take a look at you, because this is not about the other person. This is about you. It's about you. No adult wants to be told what to do. That's the first thing you need to understand. Nobody needs for you to tell them what they need to wear, what type of shirt, what, all these kind of things, and how to eat and how to sit, and what kind of conversations you need to have when you're around my family, or when you're around this group of people, when you're around that group of people. That's your own need. That's your need. And when you impose it upon others, especially when you do it to men, when you do that to men, right, we feel very disrespected, first and foremost. As a man, I have a position, right, of leadership at all times. Whether you agree or disagree with the things that I'm doing, that is still my duty from birth. Innately, I'm given that, to be the leader, to be the protector. That's my role. Over time, I come into that role, but it's not your job to tell me how. It's not your job to tell me how. It's not my job to tell my woman how to be a woman. That's not my job. So it goes back to me. Why did I select this person? Why did I choose to begin to date this person? Why have I chosen to marry this person? Did I do it to satisfy my own need? My need to control somebody else's life? my need, my desire to have someone listen to me and me not reciprocate? A relationship is two ways. What's going on, Bella, Lydiana, London, Liam, Mark 91, Katie, Fisher? What's happening? So that's not my job. And oftentimes we get caught up in taking on a duty that is not ours. It's not ours. So today we're going to talk a lot about parenting our partner. So this article, as I often, do, I go to Psychology Today. For those of you who don't know, I am a credentialed clinician, right? Substance abuse, mental illness, behavior. That's something I've been doing for 30 years. For 30 years, this is what I've been doing. So I'm not some dude, and I say this often, I'm not some dude who just decided I'm going to do a show and I'm going to tell people about their lives. That's not what this is. I am a certified addictions professional. I've been in the field for 30 years. For 30 years. So this is just not a show that I thought was a great idea in terms of what I think about life. I'm credentialed. I am professional. Okay? So today's topic is about 3 signs that you're the parent in your relationship. That you're the parent. You're the one who's making all the decisions. You're the one who's making the rules. You're the one saying this is the way this relationship is going to be. And if it's not going to be this way, then I'm not going to be in it. Because this is my own need. I'm satisfying my need in this relationship. So 3 key points are going to come out of this discussion today. The first point is the health of a partnership may depend on both individuals sharing responsibility for navigating challenges. What are the challenges in this relationship? Right? Because this is something that we're both responsible for doing because we're both in it. So if you think that you're just going to be the one telling the other person how this is going to go down, that's a great problem, right? The second point that we're going to come out of this conversation with, when individuals feel empowered within the relationship, both partners benefit emotionally and relationally. So when we're both equally involved, right, that makes for a healthier relationship. When a person is in a relationship with someone else and they feel like everything is being dictated to them, that's not a healthy relationship. It's not a lasting relationship. It is not something that is going to be able to sustain without some counseling, without some outside involvement. The third point in this conversation, when emotional care is not reciprocated, one can feel emotionally exhausted, overlooked, and undervalued. So if this is not an equal relationship, the person who is putting forth the most energy and effort is not always the best one in the relationship, is not always the healthiest one in the relationship. But if both partners are not equally involved in addressing the challenges and bringing resolve to this, the issues, then it's going to become exhausting. And when you have 2 people together and one is lacking in the other, in the way of actively participating, it's exhausting. You feel drained. You feel like you're the only one that's doing the work in this relationship. And the other person feels drained because they just want you to back off and let them be themselves. Because that is what a relationship is about. It's about you loving me for who I am. You may not accept all of my ways, but you don't have to accept all of my ways. You don't have to. And sometimes we feel like we have to 100% like that other person, and it's not going to be that way. You don't 100% like yourself. So how can you 100% like the other person? Is that love? To you, it may be. To the other person, it's not. There are things that we need to discuss in the relationship. There are things that we need to discuss in the relationship. Always. And it's not always going to be something that is important to you. A lot of times it's just something that is important to me. I just need to be heard. I need you to listen to me for a minute. Right? It can't always be your way. It's a setup when you conduct yourself in that capacity. It's a setup for failure. But there's a reason why you do it. So let's just go into the article. Relationships flourish when both partners feel valued and respected as equals. I say this now, and I will continue to say this. For a man, for a male, love is respect. You can tell us all day long how much you love us. You can bear all the gifts in the world to us. If we are not feeling like we're respected, it's not going to go anywhere. That means you need to speak to us as males in a respectful manner. Whether you feel like what we're doing is boyish, childish, or even stupid, there's a way to approach a male, your husband, your boyfriend, especially. There's a way to approach the situation. If we're in a relationship, the first thing you must understand about a male is that respect is the most important thing to us. That's the most important thing to us. If you don't feel like I'm doing my part as being the protector, right, the leader of this relationship, if you don't respect a man enough that he should be respected, that's a problem. And your relationship is going to fail. It's going to fail rapidly. It's going to fail rapidly. So that's the first thing that you need to understand as a female. And this is in no way telling you that you have to submit to a person who doesn't demonstrate these roles of leadership. If the person doesn't demonstrate that role of leadership, you need to take a look at why you're in that relationship. Hannah, what's happening? Miles, what's the problem here? Why is it that you're in this relationship with a person who you don't respect their leadership? Are you that caught up in the sex that you stay locked into this? That you continue to have expectations of this person when you really don't want to be with them, that you're just with them for the sex? You're just with them for material gains? You're just with them for the money? Why are you even in that relationship? And I often ask people, what is the purpose of being somebody's boyfriend, somebody's girlfriend? What is the purpose of giving all of yourself into this relationship when marriage is not even on the horizon, when marriage is not even part of the discussion? Why are you wasting your life away with something that you don't even want permanence with? Why? You don't want to be with this person for the rest of your life, but you're giving a portion of your life to them. Do you know that every person you're with, when that relationship ends, only the relationship ends, you take a part of them with you? Do you understand that? There was a study that I just read about, I think it was yesterday, how when a woman has sex with a man and the man ejaculates inside of her, that man's DNA remains within her. Because you don't get pregnant doesn't mean that that man's DNA is not in you. The vaginal canal is filled with pores. Anything coming from that man, right, is remaining inside of you. Somewhere inside of you. Now, that's the physical presence that remains after the relationship. But then there's also the emotional presence, the mental presence of that past relationship that still remains within you. What am I talking about? You still have feelings that reside within you about that failed relationship. Now, depending on the circumstances of how that relationship ended, will determine how much trauma you are still left with from that failed relationship. You obviously liked the person, so you were in the relationship with them for a period of time. If you married, right, it's going to remain with you even longer. Why? Your hopes, dreams, and aspirations of being a husband, of being a wife, get shattered when that relationship fails. You hold on to the failure of that relationship, and it trickles down onto others who you enter into a relationship with, especially the children. Your hatred towards that person, if they cheated on you, if they did something foul, right? If they didn't accept your conduct towards them, if you were disrespectful and they made the decision to leave, you take that to heart and you internalize that much differently. Sometimes you beat yourself up. I could have done this differently. I could have done that differently. If only I did this, if only I did that. So when you enter into the next relationship, you bring all of that with you. The woulda, coulda, shouldas all come out. And you try to do this relationship different than what you did before because of what you told yourself, instead of looking at what actually happened. What actually happened. Because sometimes it's just two good people in a relationship that just didn't work. But there's also the flip side to all of that. That person now becomes the enemy. And everybody who comes behind that person is seen as such until they show you otherwise. That means that you have formed a negative perception of men as a woman. You have formed a negative perception of women as a man. And because you now have this negative taste in your mouth from previous relationships that failed, that you blamed the others for, now I have to be subjected to that negativity. So now I'm forced to be in a situation where I have to compete with what failed in your life. I have to compete with that. I have to be subjected to the line of questioning because I always have to validate myself to you now. Now I always have to answer to something that you think about me because it looks like the other relationship. Because it looks like. So now I'm subjected to those things. I want you to follow me here because you have to understand why you would think it's necessary to treat your partner like a child. Why would you talk to your woman like she's a child? Why would you talk to your man like he's a child? Disrespectfully. Like you have to raise that person. Raise them to what? To what standard? To your standard, to your expectation. Is that how you were parented? Is that how you raise your children? Why do you feel the need to talk to me in that manner? Let's find out. The line between being a supportive partner and acting as a caretaker can sometimes blur, leading to a subtle but powerful shift in dynamics. So when it talks about being a caretaker, now you have to start looking at yourself again. Are you an enabler? Do you feel the need to care for your woman in the manner that you actually care for a child? because they both need different levels of care. What is it that you see in your woman's behavior that makes you feel like you have to care for her as you would a child? Is it a matter of protecting? You don't protect a child in the same way you protect a woman. But you're addressing her like she's your child. What she's wearing. Let's talk about that for a minute, because that's one of the big things in relationships. What you're wearing. Men want to protect their woman. It's often perceived as jealousy or insecurity. How do I protect you? I protect you by giving you the knowledge that I have as a man about what men think, how men think. There's often the argument about whether a woman should continue having the same level of engagement with male friends as a married person as she did when she was unmarried. Behavior should change. The relationship, the level of engagement should change. The woman expects that change from the man. When the man expects that change from the woman, there's a problem. There's a problem. Because a woman will always respond with, I don't want him, I want you. That's why I'm with you. Okay, that's why you're with me, because you want me. What of me is it that you really want? Because my responsibility is to protect you. We understand the relationship between genders. We understand our own conduct as males. And to say, well, that's you, that's not him, is relevant to you. But when I say the same thing to you as a man, right? You don't see it that way. When you say to me as a woman, I know she likes you. I can see her nonverbals. I can see her body. I can see how she stands near you. I can see how she looks at you. But if I'm telling you the same thing as a man about another man, it's invalid. It doesn't make sense to you. So that means that your perception of a male is that males are just disloyal, that males are just dogs, is that males, are always chasing tail. That's the message that you send to me as a man. That's your perception of me. If you have that perception of me, how long is this relationship going to last? Because you don't have a good perception of me as a male. I'm an individual. Because I have the ability, because I have the potential to do something, so do you. You have the potential to commit an act of infidelity. And infidelity is not just having sex. Infidelity is entertaining the thought of the other person. The thought of the other person. Yeah. Engaging in dialogue joyfully. You're happy to see that person. You engage in dialogue with that person that should only be reserved for me, and vice versa for your woman. Your woman that you select should be your best friend, your ace boon coon, your ride to die. Not somebody else, if you're in a relationship. So there are expectations, there are responsibilities that we have to one another. And we protect one another by addressing those kinds of things. So if you're talking to me about a thing, you talk to me as a man, I should be talking to you as a woman. I should be giving you that respect to talk to you as a woman, my wife. has nothing to do with me accepting you for who you are. If who you're being, if what you're doing is posing as a threat, a challenge, a difficulty to this relationship, we must have a conversation. And if we have that conversation and I approach you in a respectful manner, you should give me the respect to listen. Because at the end of the day, you have the right to be who you are. I have the right to be who I am. If who you're being is not in alignment with an expectation that I have of what a healthy relationship looks like, I need to walk away. And I should have the right to do that. And you shouldn't be angry about the fact that I made a decision that you're not healthy for me. But a lot of people stay in unhealthy, toxic situations, blaming the other person for why they feel the way they do. It is not my fault that you feel like I'm unhealthy for you. You feel that way for whatever reason you do. And you have that right. You have the right to roll too. We constantly put ourselves in harm's way. We constantly stay in situations we know we don't need to be in, hoping that it's going to change. Newsflash, what you see in front of you is what you get. You're not going to change that person. You're not going to make that person any different. You can't gift it away. You can't love it away. You can't sex it away. You can do absolutely nothing to change another person. If you're having conversations with that person about what's going on with you, how you're feeling about some things, you can't have that conversation. And it always ends with a, do what you got to do. Well, that's what you feel like. If it always ends that way, that person is not vested in this relationship. Because that's not the solution. Relationships are hard, difficult, a great challenge. Could you live with you? Could you live with the person just like you? Really? Just think about it for a minute. We're not talking about like me leaving my shoes in the middle of the floor, me putting the toilet paper on backwards instead of forwards, not cleaning up behind myself. We're not talking about those kind of things. Those kind of things, if you got issues with those kind of things, then you're not going to be able to be in any relationship at all. Because nobody wants you running around behind them constantly telling them, you need to pick up your shoes. You're a grown-ass man. Pick up your shoes. You need to clean up behind yourself. You got a problem with it? That's your problem. That's who I am. That's who I am. I'm not an organized person. I'm not a domesticated person. And if that's what you're looking for, then you go find that. But what else are you expecting somebody else to do, to be like for you? I often talk about the fact that I'm a person who likes order. I'm a person who needs structure. I'm a person who comes home, takes off their clothes, hang the belt back on the belt hook, put the tie back where the tie belongs, hang up any item that I want to hang back up. If I'm not hanging it back up, I'm putting it into the hamper. I take my jewelry off and I put my jewelry in the same place. I put my watch in the same place. I do those things. I do those things. Is it annoying when somebody else doesn't do it? Sure. How much energy do you put into that annoyance, though? How much energy are you putting into, I'm sick of doing this and I'm sick of doing that behind you? I often talk about how, we have blankets, the little, throw blankets that you put on yourself when you're sitting down watching TV and chilling. When I come downstairs, they're always just on the chair, on the sofa. And how, I can get easily caught up in running around telling people every day, all day long, and being in my own feelings about what you need to do. Pick up behind yourself. Sure, I complain about it, but I don't put a whole lot of energy into it. It really depends on the day. If I woke up feeling agitated or annoyed, then I'm more likely to say something about it. But if I make it a practice of just going downstairs in the morning, walking around, picking the blankets up, folding them up, putting them in their place, just do it. It's a lot less stressful. And it's a lot less likely that I'm going to say something out of my mouth to somebody that's going to bring harm to them. Right? I'm not trying to be harmful to somebody. Right? I'm trying to get along. I'm trying to move along. I'm trying to show, the other person that I do in fact care. That I care. That is not relevant enough of an issue for me to cause dissension in a relationship. It ain't that deep. Unless I make it that way. But oftentimes it's just not that way. People get caught up in some of the smallest things. You usually call me when you get to work. Why didn't you call me? Instead of, hey, I'm just checking in. You good? And you'll find out, as we often do ourselves, that, well, I was kind of running behind, or I ran into so-and-so in the parking lot when I drove up. So I got caught up in the conversation. Then I had to run and clock in. And so, things like that happen. But when you talk to an adult in a manner of, well, why didn't you do such and such? Well, you didn't call. You usually call. What's up? When you call with that kind of tone, you're talking to me like I'm a child. You're talking to her like she's a child. Right? As opposed to, hey, babe, I was just making sure you were good. Because is that the reason why you're checking? Or are you in fact controlling? Are you in fact trying to treat me like I'm your child? Like I don't, as an adult, have the right to just go into the job. I don't have the right to forget to call. I don't have the right. Maybe I was on the phone and anything could have happened. Talking to a person like, and again, especially for men. Men want respect. Respect for a man is love. You have to accept that. Men need to be respected in every facet of life. If a man is shown disrespect, you are not going to always get a loving and caring response. And that's your choice. That's your choice. Just know that we clap back. We can be patient. We can be tolerant, right? We can even accept, a few things. Disrespect? Nah. Because when you show me disrespect, right, that means that you don't have any value for me as a man. My role as a leader. Not just in a relationship with you. I am a leader. In this home, outside of this home, and abroad. I am always. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about a man. All of us are flawed. You can't tell a man how to be a man. You can tell him about the kind of man you want him to be, but you can't tell a man how to be a man. It's a different kind of relationship. You set the tone as my wife, as my woman, for what it is that you need. My responsibility is to be observant and give to you what you need. Not what you want always, because I'm going to give you what you want in most cases, but I'm also give you what you need. And you have to understand that's how this package comes. I also need to understand that my woman was given to me by God's grace and mercy for a reason. Man needs the woman. There's no way around that. There was something happening with Adam in the place that he was for God to say, you, my man, need a woman. Straighten all this out for you. See, we have lost sight of our own humanity. And we don't understand that we need each other. That being in a relationship is a partnership. There is equal distribution between us. There is. And most religions are teaching you opposite of that. that a woman's place is here, that a woman's place is there. God created a woman for the man. The man needs the woman. The woman needs the man in order for her to be able to fulfill her purpose. And you have to understand what her purpose is. And you need to understand what his purpose is. Procreation right from the gate. That means we love sex. As much of it we can get. Right? Because you're created as such. The other part that comes along with that is the part that you have to do the work in. It doesn't take any work to have sex. She dropped it like it was hot at the club. We went to the spot. You know, you like engaging with their person. They always smell good. They feel good. They look good. You're attracted to intelligence, whatever it is you're attracted to. But you can be attracted to something but can't handle it. Can't handle it. See, when it becomes yours, it's different. When you see it all the time, it's one thing. When you become a part of it, when you come into a relationship with it, there's a different sense of self. Because you're focusing on how you want this to be, how you thought it would be. My being intellectual is one aspect of me. Right? It's one aspect of me. My fairly good looks, my charm, my ability to handle certain things is, in fact, an attractant. But being in a relationship with me is different. Because now that intellect, now that charm is imposed upon you. And it's imposed upon you because we're in a relationship together now. That means the same way you see me confront challenges, the same patience, the same tolerance that you see in this environment or in that environment, you see now in this environment with you. And it's a different feel now. Because I confront life in that way across the board. Across the board. You will always find me the same way, no matter where you meet me. I'm humorous at times. I'm very intense most times. Right? Sometimes I appear to be very coarse. Sometimes I'm very crass. But I'm always respectful. So, back to the article. This imbalance can create tension, diminish intimacy, and leave one person feeling overly responsible, while the other person becomes increasingly dependent. So what happens is, when you look at the imbalance, I met you this way. We got involved. Everything was hunky-dory. Then stuff began to get real. Right? The frequency of sex changes. The act itself changes. Right? It's not wild and crazy anymore. For men, when men are disrespected, when they feel like they're not valued, right? We begin to distance ourselves in our head because of what we think about your actions. Because any behavior is always on the end of a thought. So if I'm thinking you're not respectful of me, if I'm thinking that you don't value me, you don't value my words, right? And then you layer on, well, I see you with this dude. And when you're around this dude, right? Or when you're talking about this dude, you talk about and interact with this dude much different than me. When you're my prize, you're my present, you're my gift, you're mine. I should be getting that. Why am I not getting it? And then you talk to me in a negative way. Why? So it's an imbalance. And it talks about how it leaves one person feeling overly responsible while the other one becomes increasingly dependent. So our interaction changes, and I begin to act differently towards you. When I act differently towards you, you begin to act differently towards me. Now, because you don't want to accept and understand my position, you begin to talk to me differently, and you begin to gravitate more towards those outside of us than us. So now you feel like you have to do more. And when you begin to do more, you only do the more of what you are capable of doing. So you're giving to me what you have. You're not learning how to give me what I need. And I'm trying to teach you what I need. See, in a relationship, it's not telling a person what to do. It's teaching a person what you need. You can love me the way you know how to love me. But you also have to learn how to love me the way I need to be loved. And that's where the difference is. And if you're not allowing your partner to tell you, to show you how they need to be loved, then they're not going to feel loved. And the relationship is going to be tarnished. And once the relationship is tarnished and that pink cloud is burst, everything changes. Everything changes. If you're anything like me, right, I can cut you off. Yeah, I can cut you off and still be around you. But I've cut you off because you're disrespectful. But out of obligation, and once being an enabler, because I'm a recovering enabler now, once being an enabler, right, I'm still there. I'm still doing for you. I'm still being patient. I'm still being tolerant. But when I do clap back, when I do respond and react to things that you do that I see as being disrespectful, it comes out very, very, very brash, very harsh. That means it's changing me. That means it's causing me to deviate from who I am. And I become bitter. And when I become bitter, I become angry. Because it's cousins to that. It just grows and it grows and it grows. And eventually I leave. Eventually I just leave. I gotta go. I'm out. And if you're not willing to leave, I don't care if we are sharing this place. If you're not willing to leave, I'm going to leave. Because I'm not going to allow myself to stay in a situation where I have to be overwhelmed with bitterness, with guilt, with enmity, with difficulty. I don't want none of that stuff in my life. I don't want that in my life. I don't want that to be a part of my life. Therefore, I'm responsible to do something about it. You're not responsible to change. You don't want to change? That's fine. I'm not going to put energy into changing you. I'm going to bring things to your attention respectfully. We're going to have a conversation about things respectfully. But once you disrespect a man, it's really hard, first and foremost, for us to bounce back, right? Because we need to be able to talk to you about how we feel. Men don't have what women have in terms of the close relationships. Women can sit down, boo-hoo, cry, and snot about what's happening in their relationship, how hurt they are. A man does that. Listen, we either get handled the bag, the bottle, the blunt, or be told to shut up and stop complaining, stop sounding like a little girl and just go get another one. Right? We don't have what you have as women. We don't have anybody who we can really confide in, especially another man, to sit down and say, yo, bro, she's just destroying me, man. And then the other man can, have the dialogue with you. There are very few of those relationships that we as men have with other men because of the stigma attached to us complaining. We should be able to complain to you. We don't have that outlet that you have. So when we love you, We need you. But a lot of men lack the ability, they lack the emotional intelligence to be able to have that conversation with anybody. And even when we have it with you, our wife, our woman, we still feel like we just chumped ourselves. And men won't talk to you like this. Because what often happens is when we do have these kind of conversations, they get used against us. Yeah, they get used against us by our woman, by our wife. They get used against us. Well, I remember you told me that, because, you was raised by your mother. And when a woman raises her voice at you, like it triggers something within you. And you yeah, I did tell you that, because you need to understand what trauma looks like. You need to understand what trauma looks like. Males who are raised in a female-dominated environment have greater challenges in relationships with the woman than and the same thing happens for girls, right? If a girl is raised in a male-dominated environment, she has a different kind of relationship with men, depending on how the father engaged her while raising her will determine the kind of relationship that she has with other men. Yeah. So you have to understand how each gender is groomed. And I've talked about this before in other shows. When little girls are playing with their dolls and they got their little kitchen, the Susie Bake oven and all that other kind of stuff they be in there, doing. They always ask daddy. Well, not always, but in most cases, daddy. My 2-year-old, that now she just kills me with stuff. Like she has me dressed in all kind of ways and stuff, and I'll never show pictures. But daddy, hey, I fix you something to eat. She fixes me something to eat. She fixes tea. She has tea time. She brings me her little mannequin head that to help her do the hair, because I do my daughter's hair. I've always done my daughter's hair. I have nothing but daughters. I have 6 daughters. I have nothing but daughters. So like I've done their hair in the past, 3 of them. So I do her hair, so she knows that I know how to do hair. So she'll come to me and she'll bring the little head, and I'll show her how to do and whatnot. But my point is that this is what little girls do, right? And they tend to do it a lot with their dads. But when you have a little boy in the house and the little boy is in the room playing with the little girl and her dolls in her dollhouse and stuff, the little boy is chastised because of your homophobic thinking. I don't want him. What you're not looking at is what it's actually teaching him. It's teaching him how to have appropriate boy-girl relationships, how to accept his meal, how to drink his tea, how to play with his boy doll and the girl doll appropriately, understanding that they're going to learn about sexuality and all those things like that. But in that relationship, if he takes his G.I. Joe to the tea party, the Barbie is there, right? How are they interacting? Race aside, how are they interacting? How is he talking to Barbie? How is the little girl teaching the little boy how G.I. Joe should be talking? Right? You give him a G.I. Joe. Why can't he play with Ken and be the male and play with Barbie? Why can't he do that? If he's playing with Barbie, how is he handling Barbie? How's he talking? Does he understand that the voice, beyond the voice? He can talk. Come on, yeah. He can do all that. But what is he understanding about female behavior versus that of a male, and the two of them together? I need you to understand these things, because I need you to understand how you were groomed and how you came to the point of thinking that you can talk to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, an adult, like they're your child. Because this is about you. This is not about the other person and what you think they need from you. This is about you and why you talk to me, a man, like I'm some little boy, like I'm your child. How you, as a man, think it's okay to talk to me, your wife, your woman, like I'm your damn child. And then you wonder why the relationship is the way it is. And I just told you, wait a minute, hold. You talking to me like I'm some child. I'm not a child. And when I tell you that, now you're mad. Now you feel like you're the victim because I just clapped back. Because I just corrected you on how you talk to me. I ain't never been that whooped that I allow anybody, any woman especially, to just talk to me any kind of way. And I'm going to stand idly by and just let you do it. I'm going to tell you about it. And I don't know any woman who's just going to let you talk to her like a child. Right? But I'm talking about me as a man. I'm not just going to let you just talk to me in any kind of way. And I'm not going to let you convince me that I'm victimizing you because you choose to talk to me in the capacity that you do and think that I shouldn't clap back. Because your interpretation of this response, this reaction, is that I'm just like the other ones, that I want to control you, that I think I can talk to you. No, it's a difference. I'm correcting you and letting you know how I expect to be talked to. Now, if you have a problem with being corrected, that's not my issue. That's yours. That's yours. But if you expect for me to smile through my teeth as I'm telling you that, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be very direct about it. I'm going to be very direct about it, as I should, as she should. But you have to see the core of this behavior. Because you giving me a little something, don't give you the right to do anything you want to me or talk to me any kind of manner. Because there's a whole lot more out there. You are not the only one. You are not the only one. Let's get that straight. But let me say this to you. When a person interacts with you, right, they should be learning about you. I can tell you almost to the letter when something is going on with my wife. When something is on her mind. I'm supposed to know that because I'm paying attention. I'm supposed to pay attention. I'm supposed to know. But you're not supposed to expect me to know. It's a difference. That's who I am. But when you're selfish and you're self-centered, everything is about you. Therefore, you're always expecting that person to know, to do for you. And you don't reciprocate because you don't have the capacity. You have to understand your own capacity. The difficulty with a person like me is that I bring resolve to things, that I don't drag things out. I have a conversation with you about something, then I move on. I don't make it a fight. I don't make it an argument. Not initially. That happens over a period of time. Again, I told you, it builds. Patience and tolerance eventually runs out. Eventually, I become overwhelmed with having to go over this over and over and over and over again, only to see the same response to the same thing. You have no desire to change. You want to be in the battle. I don't want to fight. I got to go. I don't see any. Listen. I'm on my 5th marriage. And they weren't short-term marriages, right? I invested a lot of time, energy, and effort. Most of those situations, I was an enabler. It wasn't until the end of my 4th marriage, well, not the end of it, but my 4th marriage where I realized how much of an enabler I was. how much I really took on the chin, how much I really sucked up. And for once, I stood on business. I suffered immensely. Hold on. This is a TikTok thing. Right. I suffered immensely. I was so far lost because I had invested so much energy into another person, and not just into another person's stuff. I had got sucked in. But I wasn't getting anything in return. I was drained. I was overwhelmed. Couldn't do it anymore. Just couldn't. Tried over and over again. And I had to let it go. But I was so far gone, you know, myself was so far gone in trying to, it just wasn't going to be. And I finally surrendered to the fact that you are an enabler, that you have to start looking at what's best totally for you first and foremost. You have to be selfish in the sense that you have to care more about you and love you more than you love anything else except God. But you have to put you first. You have to put you first. You don't enter into a relationship where somebody's talking to you like a child. If it happens once or twice, then, you know, but if you allow it to continue to happen, you allow that to continue to happen. You don't blame somebody else because they're being who they are. You allowed that to continue to happen. You chose not to cut it off. I'm cutting it off. Yeah. I cut off religion and just walked away with the spiritual values, because that's what it really comes down to. When you find yourself with too many questions after years of practicing, and you still don't have the answers, right, to those things that you were taught, and the only answer that you actually have is that which you actually experience, which is actually documented, but it's too many other unanswered questions about why am I practicing this? It only separates me from others who don't practice that. That's not what humanity is. Humanity is a whole. It's all of us. So let's go to number one, because these are three key signs that you might be stepping into a parental role with your partner, and what you can do to restore the balance in your relationship. And, you know, it's not necessary that you're going to restore the balance within that current relationship, because, again, once it's tarnished, it's really hard to bounce back. Once a man is disrespected, getting it back on track is like, it's almost like hitting the lotto. Yeah. I'm just telling you the way it is. Respect is important to men. It's really, you really have to be vested in this relationship. It really has to be shown in your actions that you are vested into this relationship, that, you know, you're willing to make that change, that you understand what's needed for this to be a healthy relationship. Once you're there, then that's when it can actually be healed and mended. But once you continue to just be disrespectful, randomly disrespectful, right? That means that you're not vested. And I'm not going to deal with it. Most men won't deal with it. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It'll never be the same. And each time you do it, you take more and more away from the relationship. And my desire for you is lessened more and more. So number one, you're always in fix-it mode. A clear sign of imbalance in a relationship is when you constantly find yourself in problem-solving mode. You might notice patterns like interrupting your partner's thoughts to offer solutions, feeling the need to manage or oversee their decisions, or becoming frustrated when they don't follow your advice. How many of you do it? How many times do you offer advice and you think that it's the only way to do it, that this is the way to do it, that your way failed, that the way you're going about it is not going to net you what it is that you want? How often does it happen? How often are you frustrated with your partner because, like, they still haven't found a job? Do you know how hard it is to find a job? Any damn job. And say, oh, well, you can always work at McDonald's. Would you work at McDonald's? Yeah, well, if I needed money, I would, if I could. But if I have somebody, in my life who is by my side and know that I desire to have a particular job because that's what I'm experienced in, right? Why can't I pursue that? Now, if we're like getting ready to get evicted and stuff like that, then it's in a critical situation. Then I need to go ahead and do. But if it's a matter of things a little tight, things are going to be tight sometimes. You're going to be on the other side of that fence where things might be tight sometimes. That's a possibility for anybody. You could get sick. You could get injured. God forbid anything had happened. You expect for me to act in a way that you yourself aren't willing to do. If you're a nurse, I tell you, oh, well, you can go work at McDonald's. No, I believe that I can get a job. I just need time. I'm applying everywhere. I remember when I back in 2012, when I lost a job, I was fired, unjustly fired. Therefore, they had to compensate me. I got unemployment for an entire year, which was nice. But do you know I looked for a job on a regular basis? I looked for a job. Do you know when I got that job? The same week my benefits expired is the same week I got a job. A damn year later, I looked for a job every day. I retired in June, somewhere around September, October, right? I said, I'm going to get something part-time, so I like to keep active. Even though I do a whole lot of things at home, I want to keep active. Just recently, I got a hit. But it took a while to start getting responses. But you have to look at everything. You want to be supportive. I'm gonna support you, right? But if you have the mindset of telling a man that he needs to do this and he needs to do that, when you get frustrated because we got to tighten up things a little bit, or you tired of coming home and he's still on the couch, or he playing the game, or this ain't done or that ain't done in the house, that's on you. That's your thinking. That's who you are. That's who you are. It's not on me. You don't start beating me down simply because you're frustrated because you going to work and you coming home and he ain't doing nothing that you think he should do. He doesn't know how to do that. I'm totally domesticated. I do dishes and I do windows. I've never had a woman iron my clothes. There were only 2 occasions that my clothes were ever ironed by a woman. One, I had to go to the hospital, and my wife at the time knew that I wasn't gonna go out without pressed clothes. I wasn't gonna go out all wrinkly, right? So she ironed my clothes, and we went to the hospital. The second one, I was up all night at the job, and I was having an audit the next day. She pressed myself, and she brought the stuff to me twice. Yeah. I know how to do all those things myself. I'm domesticated. I'm not a cook. I did it professionally as well. But I'm saying every dude ain't raised like me. My mother had us standing on milk crates at 9, 10 years old, teaching me we can cook hot dogs and beans and, little stuff like that. Right? She had me ironing my own clothes. She told me how to braid my own hair. Well, she did that because she was sick and tired of doing it because I had a whole head. Well, I had a fro out about here, but anyway, it's another story. But all I'm saying is, like, you have to look at, again, Are you always running around trying to be the one providing solutions for everything for me and even yourself? Yourself is enough. Why are you trying to do it for me too? This pattern becomes problematic to the article when it stops being about mutual support and starts feeling like a one-sided effort to steer your partner toward a solution, right? You know, you can check in. Did you got some resumes printed out? You need any resumes, right? Anything like that you need in those things? You got enough pens, paper, you need in those things? I can bring them home for you, right? Supporting you. So how's that coming along for you? How's your job search coming along? It's all right. Well, I got a couple out today, and and then that shows support. Now if the person is not actually doing that, it'll show that they're not actually doing that. Right? Because you should see some level of frustration, annoyance from that person if they're actually doing it. If they're only responding to your questioning, if they're not sharing the information with you when you come in, you understand what I'm saying? Then maybe something to that. But you can't fix that. You have to just observe and watch for yourself and see what's going on. Right? And it's okay if you know somebody, you run into somebody and say, hey, I got this from so-and-so, and, maybe you want to check it out. And because they don't check it out, they may not care for the person. They may not want to do that, but they'll hold it to, I'm going to put that in my pocket. They may use it later. Right? What's going on, y'all? Right? So you have to look at those kind of things. Right? You can't make a person be who you want them to be. It doesn't work that way. The person has to have that within them. They have to show their own efforts. But you don't talk to an adult like they're a child. Well, you need to do this and you need to do that, and I ain't seen nothing. You need to. Either you're going to support me or you're not. But I have enough stress trying to find a job. I have enough stress on me trying to deal with this situation the best way I know how. You telling me is not going to help me do it. You telling me is only going to increase my frustration. It's only going to increase my annoyance. It's not going to make things any better. Right? But again, it comes back to constantly fixing things for them can unintentionally undermine their autonomy. Right? We're individuals in a relationship, right? I have a particular role innately given by God, and so does she, the Eve, right? There's already a purpose there. There's already, a need for me to be an independent partner, but understand the significance of the term partner, right? You trying to change me as who I am is only going to cause dissension because I'm only being who I know to be. The relationship aids us both in becoming better people. My job is to help my wife become a better person. Her job is to help me become a better person. That's our role. I'm not your child. I don't need you to raise me. She's not your child. She don't need you to raise her. You have to understand what it means to teach someone. You're teaching the other person about you. You're not teaching the other person about them. When you do this, I feel this. It triggers this inside of me. It's not saying you're doing anything wrong. It's saying that I need to do something about what's being triggered in me. And I will react in a negative manner towards you. I'm not doing it intentionally. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to continue to work on this area because it's not you. It's something unresolved within me that I need to address. Thank you for bringing it to my attention that I've done this again. I need that from you because sometimes I lose sight of what I need to change, and you can only change what presents itself. You don't keep it in your head, something that somebody told you that you need to change, until you believe it. But it's so many other things in life, because we're so complex and so complicated as human beings, that that's not always in the forefront of my mind. And I don't mean to be this way. I'm sorry. I apologize, and I'll do better. And it's okay to say that. For men, it's hard to say that, because if we don't trust you as our wife, as our woman, enough to be able to have these kind of heartfelt, vulnerable conversations, we can't have it anywhere else. And then when we have these conversations with you and you throw it back at us, we don't have it at all. Therefore, we don't have the opportunity. We don't have an environment that we're in where we feel like we're able to do that. So we stuff it. We stuff it. And it's going to always come out angrily. It's going to always come out aggressively. That's just the nature of a human being. Overstepping, back to the article, overstepping as the fixer can inadvertently signal a lack of trust in their abilities, stalling their growth and hindering their sense of self-efficacy. Instead, the model emphasizes providing encouragement and space, allowing your partner to navigate challenges independently. And that's what I was talking about, being autonomous. Let me do this. I'm going to have to do it with or without you. I'd like to do it, with you being there and supporting me. Not telling me how I need to do it, because that works for you. You ever heard the old saying that what you eat don't make me poop? Right. That's what you choose to eat. That's not my choice. And if the choices that I'm making are not appealing to you, then you have to make a decision. But you're sure as hell not going to sit around and just keep beating me up because you're not in agreement with it. You choose to stay. You choose to be in this situation. Whatever support you can offer, that's great. But stop telling people what they must do to appease you. It's just not going to happen that way. Either you deal with it or you don't. But you're not going to keep beating up on me. Right? This approach, fosters resilience and strengthens the foundation of mutual respect in the relationship. Right? Because that's what we need to have in our relationships. Mutual respect. We need to be able to foster the resilience. We're all resilient. But if you keep making me feel like my efforts are not good enough, what do you think that's going to foster within me? I'm going to continue to feel like a failure. I'm already feeling bad about the fact that I haven't been able to get one. That I haven't been able to contribute to financially. That I'm broke all the time. I have to deal with that every day. Now I have to deal with you on my back constantly. And then now you're wondering why I'm always out with the boys. Now you wonder why I'm always drunk. Now you wonder why I'm always, smoking a blunt. I'm always high, because I need to feel that in order to not feel and deal with what I've already have upon me, and you're just layering on top of it. You understand what I'm saying to you? Doesn't give you the right. To avoid always being the fixer, routinely ask yourself, does my partner feel empowered to solve their own problems? Or do they seem reliant on me to step in and take charge? Because ultimately, that's what may happen. That after a while, I'm just going to start following your lead. After a while, I'm going to be feeling so bad about myself that I'm going to listen to you. And I'm going to take all the advice that you keep giving me. I'm going to keep following all the leads on looking for a job that you keep giving me. And it's going to continue to be the same outcome until it's time for me to get a job. You can't make somebody give me a job. Right? The same effort that I'm putting forth with my autonomous position, my independent position of doing it, you're going to be doing the same thing. So you're just one more person, but you're telling me to do it your way. And then when I get the job, because I followed your way, then you pride yourself on, see, I told you to do it my way. No, it was just time for him to get a job. It was just time for her to get a job. It wasn't something that you made happen. Even if you did, even if you were the connection, you didn't make it happen. It just happened that it was time for that person to get the job. But when I depend on you, now I can blame you as well. And I can take the blame off of myself. And matter of fact, I can become so dependent upon you and what you say, your opinions, right? Your direction. I can be so dependent on that when my life fails, I'm going to blame you. And I'm going to feel even worse about myself when you're no longer there, because now I have to do it on my own. So now you've also set me back. Yes, I've allowed you to do it, but it doesn't matter. Now I've become dependent on you. Now you've taken all of that on, because I'm dependent on you to tell me what to do next. And then you want to say to me, oh, well, what kind of man lets his woman? Wait a minute. But when I was doing it on my own, you overstepped the line. And you force my hand to allow you to tell me what I need to do next. Now I don't know what to do, because if I do it this way, then if you don't like it, then it's an argument, and then it's hell in our house. What do I do? For me, the best thing is to walk away from that relationship. If the relationship is not changing, if the woman doesn't accept the fact that you are a man, that you are the leader that she chose, and then she talks to you like you're a child. She treats you like a child. And then when you follow her lead about everything, now you're less than a man. What do you want? I was doing it on my own. That wasn't enough for you. So because I love you, I started doing things the way you suggested. I started following all your suggestions. Now that I look for a suggestion from you, now you're telling me I'm less than a man, because I'm allowing it's like, what do I do? You caused that, but I allowed it. So I can't blame you. And I don't expect for you to take ownership, because you just showed me you're not going to take ownership. You're not going to look at the fact that, well, every time I made the decision to do something, it wasn't a decision that was good enough for you. Therefore, I followed your decision. And because it was a good outcome, right? You take ownership for the outcome when nobody can determine what the outcome is other than God. So God said it was time for me to get a job. You didn't say it. It just so happened at the time when I took your suggestion, your recommendation, that it happened that way. Don't necessarily mean that you're in charge, but you put yourself in charge of everything, right? And those are the kind of things that you have to understand in a relationship. You build it. You create it. That's your Frankenstein monster. And you don't want to take ownership for what you created. So it's easier to snap back at me and tell me, well, you need to do. That's not a healthy relationship. The last one on one. The health of a partnership often depends on both individuals sharing responsibility for navigating challenges. By stepping back and offering support without taking control, you allow your partner to grow, build confidence, and contribute equally to the emotional health of your relationship. Two things really important I want to say about that. Without taking control, you allow your partner to grow. Some of y'all don't want your partner to grow. Some of y'all do not want your partner to grow. Some of y'all don't want your woman being independent. Not independent of the relationship. You don't want her making decisions on her own. You want her to feel like you know it all, that you have all the answers, that what I'm telling you is the way that it's going to go. That's control, first and foremost. Second of all, it doesn't empower your woman to do things independent of you. She has to shoot things by you before she does it. She has to talk to you first. And vice versa. Same thing happens when, a man got to talk to you before he does this or he does. Nobody wants that. That is so unhealthy. It's actually sick. And then when your life fails, you blame it on the other person. But it's a choice you made. But some of y'all don't want to see your partner grow, because if they grow, right, you're afraid they're going to leave you. So because of your fear of them leaving you, right? If you fear of them leaving you, you're still going to leave. We're at the hour. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. You can be doing anything else on a Saturday morning than sitting here listening to me. I appreciate it. And I will be back next Saturday, 10 a.m. every Saturday for Daddy's Right Here Live. You may see me live in about another hour, because I'm getting ready to go into the other part of my studio, start working on getting this album finished up that I promised to be done by the middle of April. Y'all have a great day. I'm your man, your host as always, Sabir Aline. Peace.